अचीवमेंट रे समस्त समान लेवल रे ताकर लेवल का समान नथे so thus they do not possess equal resources for fulfilling their needs ताको पाखरे equal resources नाही तो equally develop हेबा पाए that's why the levels of the inequalities are determined by the relations of the individuals and the communities do not have resources to meet their requirements. So these communities जो our in India रे there exist inequalities among the caste, tribes and genders groups and between the rich and the poor classes of the people. And these communities are known as SCs, they are the Dalit sections, then STs, OBCs, women populations and the transgender sections and transgender groups. Because of the inequalities among people, all the communities cannot equally capable of meeting their needs. तांकर भितर inequalities अच्छी और से माने तांकर needs माने equally fulfill करी पारु नहांती. That's why for all to be able to have equal opportunities, समस्तों equal opportunities देबा पाए it is essential that the less privileged sections of the society are given special helps by the state. सेमानको सोसाइटी रे इक्वालिटी प्रदान करिबा पाई the less privileged sections of the people मानको से माने सोसाइटी रे किछि स्पेशल हेल्प दिया जाउछि स्टेट तांको किछि स्पेशल हेल्प देउछंती and this special help this is a compensatory step which the state provides to the deprived groups or inequalities they have faced in the past or contemporary times से माने जो inequality जो discriminatory treatment past रे किंबा present रे पाई आसुचंती एटा गुटे compensatory step so this reservation for the ST women and the OBC and the economically weaker sections are the compensatory step. It is compensatory measures to enable the deprived sections in India for achieving the welfares of the SC, ST, OBC, women's population and social and the economically weaker sections of the people. So now, what is this reservation? Reservation जो स्थान संरक्षण रहुची स्थान से what is this reservation policy? This reservation is a device through which some proportion of the position, percentage of the position are there fixed in the employment sector and seats in the representative bodies, that is in the parliament or the state legislative sphere or in the local self-government institutions for the weaker sections of the society, such as SC, ST, OBCs, women or social and the economically backward sections of the people. ताको constitution रे किछि स्थान संरक्षण रो प्रोविजन रही आसी अछि and this policy is known as the reservation policy. Okay, so this reservation to the backward classes are provided according to the article 15(4), according to the article 15 clause 4 and the 16 clause 4 with the purpose of establishing an egalitarian and the secular society with समांतर society established करिबा पई constitution रे हमर article 15(4) clause रे and the article 16(4) clause रे there is provisions ताको अछि. So here article 15(4) कोन कहि जाउछंती article 15(4) it provided for the introduction of the social groups which are socially and economically educationally backward classes. That is in 1951 the Madras government passed an order giving reservation to the SC, ST, SC populations and the backward classes. Madras re kebe 1951 re provisions kara jaitila. So reservation for the OBC at the center and the state level that had introduced in the light of the recommendation of the commission which had to be introduced by the central and the state government respectively. So reservation for the SC and ST मान को reservation टा माने को process रो आरंभ होइला from the historical period, from the Pune Pact to reservation policy टा आरंभ होइला. Pune Pact हला से जगह रे स्पेशल जैसे कि सेपरेट इलोक्ट्रेट करा जाओ बोली कर डिमांड करथिले द अनटचेबल सेक्शंस ऑफ द सोसाइटी हम पे स्पेशल इलोक्ट्रेट करा जाओ हम स्पेशल वोट देबो तो ए जदी स्पेशल इलोक्ट्रेट ता जदी से टाइम रे जदी एक्सेप्ट हे थांता देन the society may be it a divide society divide he jaythanta between the touchables and the untouchable sections. That's why the ସେତେବେଳେ ମହାତ୍ମା ଗାନ୍ଧୀ ସେ ପୁନା ପେଟରେ ତାଙ୍କ ସ୍ଥାନ ସଂରକ୍ଷଣ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଏସସି ପିପୁଲ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ୍ସ ରଖିଥିଲେ. So the origin of the reservation to the scheduled caste can be traced back to the Pune Pact, which was signed between Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So according to this Pune Pact, the SCs were given reservation, the SC population were given reservation in the assemblies and in the parliament, and the government of the India Act 1935 here it gave legal sanction for such reservations. The government of the India Act 1935 the legal sanctions reservation को देथिला. So the constituent assembly had representation of the SCs were elected to the legislative assemblies in the British India also. And the members of the legislative assembly constituted the constituent assemblies at the time. So the issue of the reservation we are discussing the constituent assembly also. So the constituent assembly here passes a resolution suggesting reservation for the SC and the ST in the public institution reservation दिया जायतला constituent assembly रे. So it has suggest करा जायतला. So consequently these provisions about the reservation were incorporated in the article 15 and 16 of the Indian constitutions of in 1950s. 1974, in 1974, it was decided to introduce reservation for the SC and ST in the employment and the legislation. In 1954, it was further extended to the educational institution also. Educational institution reservation by the extent kora jaitla. So the central government here funded higher education institutions. The central government funded higher education institution 22.5% of the available seats are reserved for the SC scheduled caste. Then scheduled tribe the seats reserved is 7.5% for ST. And okay, and the OBC SC reservation upre kichi alopat kale, then we'll know about the reservation, the history of the reservations of OBCs. OBCs manko reservation भी एटा colonial time ru colonial government ru आरंभ होइतिला. एटा ए डिबेटा चली आस्तिला. So in the year 1880s from the colonial period, so the colonial government at that time said the Hunter commissions. It sets the Hunter commission to suggest measures to provide reservations in the government positions to the socially backward classes. Here, Jyotirao Phule, here he made a plea before the Hunter Commission to grant reservation to these classes, to the OBC, other backward classes. In the year 1902, Maharaja Sahuji of the Kolhapur introduced 50% reservation for the backward classes in jobs. And this is the first example of the giving reservation to the backward classes in India in the modern Indian history. So in 1921, Madras government here introduced community-wise reservation as follows. Here 44% for the non-Brahmins for 44% reservation देतिला Madras government, and 16% for Brahmins, Muslims, and the Christians and the Anglo-Indian communities of each group. So reservation for the OBCs in the central government institutions. Central government institution रे OBC रो reservation रो status टा कोन. Kaka Kelkar report. Kaka Kelkar report here for introducing the reservation at the central level. The central government appointed the first OBC commission known as Kaka Kelkar commissions in 1953, named after the chairman Kaka Kelkar. So, Kelkar commission are constituted of the 11 members, and this commission identified 2399 social in the educationally backward class, or 2399 social and the educationally caste, the type of the caste, deserving to get reservation in the central government institutions. Okay, so but the central government did not accept the recommendation. एते परिमाण रे caste reservation दिया जाओ बोली करी central government से accept करी नथिले of the Gallagher commission, and it argued that the commission did not apply the objective criteria of identifying the backward class. Okay, a report reject it. After that, the Mandal Commission's report. Rejecting the recommendation of the Kaka Kelkar report angered the backward classes. From the time of the rejection, the Kelkar report in the 1950s till the declaration and the implementation of the Mandal Commission's report by BP Singh government in the 1990s, the backward classes, the socialist leaders and the political parties and the farmer leaders belong to the farming communities. They continue to mobilize their supports for the introduction of the reservations for the backward classes. And 1950s to 1990s पर्यंत attempt जारी रहितला कि ओबीसी माने मानको पय रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसी से माने लागू करिवे at the center. So regarding the reservation in the state, the South Indian state had already implemented OBC reservation from 1950s to 1970s. Such demand became more persistent in North Indian states. By the mid of the 1970s, the reservation for the backward classes in the public institution became a common agenda of the socialist farmers or the leaders that known as Joram Singh, who had strong support bases among the farming communities such as Jat, Yadav, and the Comins, etc. So, the Mandal Commission here, it submitted its reports in 1980s, and the submission of the Mandal Commission followed by the demands for the implementation of the reports. Implement demand arise by the several political parties and several OBC leaders. H. The implementation of the Mandal Commissions was in Janata Dal's manifesto. Janata Dal's manifesto agenda the implementation of the recommendations of the Mandal Commissions. Here the VP Singh government announced the implementation of the Mandal Commission reports in July 1990s. So the implementation of the report here led to the violent protest in India, especially in northern India. Several petitions challenged the announcements to implement the Mandal Commission reports. Mandal Commission reports विरुद्ध बहुत सारे petitions. The Supreme Court took all petitions together in 1992 in Indira Savani versus Union of India cases. It upheld the decision to implement the Mandal Commission report on the following conditions: that only the creamy layer among the OBCs with certain annual limits that would be excluded from the benefits of the reservation of the that is meant for the OBC. Creamy layer people mane OBC sector creamy layer people mane se mane reservation OBC reservation pai paribe nahi. Only the non-creamy layer sections of the people mane reservation pai paribe. जेमति कि non गुटे income level parents income level fixed ହେଇची से income level रो तळकु जो OBC sections of the people माने कम income level रे थिबे ताकु only the they are known as the non-creamy layer sections of the people, and they only deserves the reservation. So that means the OBC reservation will be given only to the non-creamy layers among the OBCs, those whose income will be less than the limits set to the exclude the creamy layers among them. Okay. एती पर्यंत बुझियला काफी डाउट्स अछि कि एनी प्रॉब्लम?
बुझियला मैम.
Okay, then next reservation on the OBC in the state level. Central government कथा तो कि मात्रा जानि पारलो state level रे कोन सब हेतिला. The Karpori report, Karpori Thakur formula. जो Karpori Thakur formula टा OBC reservation पाई जो नया जाइतिला सेटा कोन. This The provisions of the reservation of the OBC have different type of the limitations here. The principal among these that the OBC is a group of the caste having unequal levels of the social standard, economic standard, educational and the political standard. The OBC consists of the political and the economically influential framing communities such as Yadavs, Urmis, Jats, Gujars, etc. And as well as the social and the economically marginalized classes, marginalized sections who had traditional occupation associated with the Jajmani system. এটা ଗୋଟେ unequal type ର group କିଛି ତାର ମାନେ economic standard ରେ social standard ରେ ସେମାନେ ଏତେ ମାତ୍ରାରେ ତାଳମେଳ ଖାଉନାହାନ୍ତି. So when the Karpuri Thakur was the chief minister of the Bihar, he introduced reservation in 1970s for the OBCs by dividing into the dominant and the marginalized backward classes, known as the extremely backward classes and the most backward classes of the state. Okay, this is seta Karpuri Thakur formula. Then reservation for the women. Women मानकर पाई reservation टा जेमती हिसाब रे constitution स्वीकृति देइथिला. The 73rd and the 72 and the 73rd constitutional amendment. 72 and the 73rd constitutional amendment 1992 and 1993. Here provided 33% of reservation of the women in the institution of the local self-government and in the rural level as well as the urban areas in India, respectively. So prior to these amendments, the women are not entitled for the political reservation. 72 and 73rd constitutional amendment आगरू women माने कौन सी political reservation पाइबा तब किसी reservation न थिला. So this reservation it created confidence among the women. This reservation it creates confidence among the women and made them more conscious in their democratic rights. But the so unlike prior to the introduction of the reservation for them in the political bodies at the local level, the women presence marked a remarkable increase. किछि मात्रा रे women मानकर reservation पाई women मानकर माने फील्ड political फील्ड किछि मात्रा रे increase करिथिला. But in several cases देखा गला जे women's elected representative become proxies of the male members of the families, that is their husbands, fathers, brothers, etc. जणे जदी सरपंच हला तार हस्बैंड हो कि तांकर फादर हो कि तांकर भाई हो से माने तांकर proxy हिसाब रे काम कले तांकर बदल रे से माने जेते काम कले. Okay, so while for this purpose of the formalities the women's elected members put the signature. women's member माने खाली तांकर signature दउथिले तांको बदल रे जने मेल मेंबर तांकर रिलेटिव्स तांकर हस्बैंड हो कि तांकर फादर हो कि तांकर भाई हो से माने proxy हिसाब रे काम कले एटा देखा गला इन द सोसाइटी रे देखा जाउछि. So there are some exceptions where elected women's representatives have fulfilled their representatives responsibility independently. किंतु सब क्षेत्र रे नुहे केतरा क्षेत्र रे देखा गला जे से माने proxy हिसाब रे तांकर रिलेटिव माने यूज करछथि किंतु केते क्षेत्र रे इंडिपेंडेंटली वुमेन माने काम भी करछथि. So the reservation for the women in the local self government institutions was the result of such demands of the new social movement in the 1980s. In this movement, yes.
Ma'am, repeat your subhuni.
एबे सुना गला.
आज्ञा मैम.
हां तो रिजर्वेशन ऑफ द वुमेन दा हमें तार माने हमर डिस्कशन चली छी. माने एबे सुना गलानी कि आगु सुना जाय नथला.
मैम को थोड़ा को ठीक से सुबु नथुला.
अच्छा तो ठीक अछि. रिजर्वेशन फॉर द वुमेन में को रिजर्वेशन ऊपर हमें डिस्कस करू छे ए जगह रे. तो 70 माने 72 एंड द 73rd कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट केबे थुइतला 1992 एंड 1993 रु. तो ए जगह रु 33% of the women reservation टा local self government institution and the urban self government institution रे लागू करा जायथिला किंतु ए जगह रे देखा गला जो women माने empower हेले किंतु तांकर माने proxy हिसाब तांकर husband की तांकर brothers की तांकर fathers को यूज करे only push the signature in their place माने केते क्षेत्र रे not in all the field so it one type of the practices are going on लेकिन सब क्षेत्र रे नुहे so the reservation for the women at the local government self government institution and the local self governance or the result of such demands of the new social movements different type of the tarpore 1980 से different type of the social side women played very important role. This demand is also raised to introduce 33% reservation for the women in the higher level of the political institutions such as the parliament and the legislative bodies. 33% reservation local self government and urban self government रे पाइले the women माने तापरे से माने डिमांड कले जे हमें parliament रे and the legislative assemblies रे केमति 33% reservation पाइबु so such demands are articulated by the civil societies organization as well as different the intellectuals and the several political parties but there is no unanimity among these issues so a sections of the different of the political leaders they oppose the reservations for the women that they arguing that reservation of the women will cut into the share of the backward classes. So the women's reservation bill that promising 33% of the reservations to the women in the parliament was passed by the Rajya Sabha on 9th March 2010 by a majority vote of the 186th member in favor of against only one. So the bill that was not yet been passed in the Lok Sabha sara pass ei pari nahi. However, there is consistent demands from the civil society organization to introduce the reservation for the women in the parliament and the state legislative bodies. Okay, all these are about the women reservations. Then reservation for the yes.
मैम जो मेजॉरिटी वोट 186 मेंबर रो फेवर 1 सेटा कोन बुझेलानी
माने से जगह रे जेतले वोटिंग ता हला राज्य सभा रे से जगह रे 187 मेंबर थिले 186 मेंबर से बिल को सपोर्ट कले राइट कले यस कले देन जणे रिजेक्ट करथिले ओके
आगे मैम
186 मेंबर फेवर करथिले दे सपोर्ट दिस बिल बट जणे रिजेक्ट करथिले तो से बिल ता एबे पर्यंत भी पास हे पारि नाही इन द लोक सभा
आगे मैम
the reservation for the educational backwardness sections of the people that is apart from the social and the educational backwardness and the experience of the untouchabilities in the India there are some caste they are economically poor but they are not socially backward so they are not entitled of the caste based affirmative actions under the reservation policy जेमटा कि generally they are known as the general category of the people not entitled for the reservation meant for the SC STs and the OBC section so the government of the India has defined them as economically weaker sections of the society in January 2019 the person belonging to the economically weaker section category got 10% of the reservation in the position in the central government institution a person those family annual income fell within the limits of the 8 lakhs that qualifies to belongs to the economically weaker section category and this reservation of the economically weaker sections category was proposed in the constitution the 124th amendment bill 2019 only that is tabled by the union government and under these provisions for the reservations of the people from the economically weaker sections that a process of the recruitment a position in the central government has started in several central government institutions in the India जोटा कि जेंति कि एससी एसटी मानकर पाए रिजर्वेशन थिला सेंति करी पीपल्स मानकर इकोनॉमिकली वीकर सेक्शंस पीपल मानकर पाए रिजर्वेशन ता लागू करबा पाए सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन रे प्रयास चलीची then unit 14 development reservation upre aur kar kichi doubts or any problem?
No, ma'am.
Then we'll move to the unit 14, that is development. And development ଟା କଣ, ଯେମିତି କି ଉନ୍ନତି ମାନେ ଅଗ୍ରସର ପ୍ରଗତିଶୀଳ. So India is a multi-diverse country and it inherited multiple deprivation from the colonial rule. ଯେମିତି କି ସବୁ ପିପୁଲ ମାନେ ସମାନ ଅଛନ୍ତି କି ନାହିଁ, ପୁଅ ମାନଙ୍କ ଲିଟରେସି ରେଟ୍ ଟା ସମାନ ନାହିଁ, that is some have low literacy rate, some have high mortality rate, and social inequality are marked by the untouchabilities, gender and regional disparities. That there is economic inequalities, insecurity of the land tenure due to a feudal land system and lack of the infrastructure development. That was the major indicators of the backwardness of the India. So guided by the constitution of the India in response to the popular mobilization, Indian state introduced affirmative actions and the welfare policy, like affirmative action or the welfare policies to improve the status of the backward sections of the people. And this policy have brought about positive changes in the lives of the people, especially the marginalized or the weaker sections of the people. And in this unit, we only focuses on the development which has been achieved in the independent India through affirmative action or the welfare policy. So, what is the meaning and the scope of development? Development, it refers to the progress in all respects of the human beings and society, such as social, political, and the economics. It involves stages of the structural changes in the society from traditional to the modern level. Generally, these changes it indicates transformation of a traditional agrarian society to a modern industrial society. So, in social society, changes टा केमती करी हबो? ट्रेडिशनल एग्रीग्राम सोसाइटी रू मॉडर्न इंडस्ट्रियल सोसाइटी रे जेतेबे चेंज करा गला सेतेबे ऑब्वियसली वी नो दैट it is one form of the development in the society. That is the principal pioneers of the modernizations or the development the theories of the political science that were David Easton and Gabriele Almond and Coleman. And in sociology, Talcott persons are the propounders of the theories of the development. So many political scientists and the sociologists, they attempted to explain the politics and the social process in India by using modernization or the development theories. So Amartya Sen, say he developed the model that he conceptualized development in terms of enhancements of the human capacities or developments of the human capacities. It means that human beings should get education and be healthy. Human beings should get education and be healthy. So in other words, development should be human development. And this notion of the development does not outlook significance of the growth, but it suggests that growth should be distributed to develop human capacities. Growth should be distributed to develop human capacity. So Amartya Sen ka approach ta hela that is according to the capability approach. Agru bi ame puthiche tangota hoji capability approach, development according to the capacity. So the notion of the development does not overlook the significance of the growth. ए जगह growth को भी हमें मान्यता देबा, but it suggests that growth should be distributed to develop human capacities. Growth should be distributed to develop human capacity. So in the development of the freedom of Dr. Amartya Sen, he explains that if people have development in terms of getting education and good health, this can enable them to enjoy democratic rights such as freedom. So their deprivation from education, health, or other needs can undermine their democratic rights. Here, Amartya Sen underlines that true justice can be delivered in practical sense by removing deprivations of the people man deprivation ta ko dura kale ja ke people man to justice pai paribe. So the such notion of the justice that is କୋଉଟା ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ପିପୁଲ ମାନଙ୍କର ଭିତରୁ deprivation feelings ଟା ଦୂର କରିବା ସେତେବେଳେ ଯାକି justice ପାଇପାରିବେ. That is the Amartya Sen concept of the development. Then we'll move to the affirmative actions, that is welfareism and the development. Affirmative actions ଟା କ'ଣ and ତାର welfare and development ପ୍ରତି ତାର relations ଟା କ'ଣ. That in India has economics and the social disparities, inequalities टा India रे prevailed ହେଇକରି ଅଛି. That is marked by the poverty and caste, and there is also gender based discriminations. So affirmative actions means that it is a policy. Affirmative actions means policy initiative by the state for welfare and development of socially and educationally marginalized sections of the community. So this affirmative action, the main aim of the affirmative action is to remove the lack of the opportunities of the health, education, and employment. Here it provides redistributive justice by creating special opportunities for the disadvantaged groups in the form of the various policy. Different type of the policy, different type of the rules and the regulation implement करके backward sections of the people मानु किछि मात्रा रे special privileges दिया जिबाटा को हमें affirmative actions policy बोली कहूछु. So this affirmative action includes policy initiative by the state such as कोथरे हमको हमें तक affirmative action policy रो को धारा दिया जिबो reservation job क्षेत्र reservations in the public institutions and the political reservation for the marginalized social groups such as SC, ST, OBCs, women and social and the educational weaker sections of the society, which mainly include the high caste. That affirmative action here also include the policy initiative to remove poverty and other disadvantages. These affirmative actions include public policies for the welfare of the people. It can also lead to the development in terms of the growth, distribution as well as human development as discussed above. ଯେମିତି କି କ'ଣ ସବୁ constitutional provisions ଅଛି for the affirmative actions. That is the constitutional provisions for affirmative actions. ଯେମିତି କି economics growth our society रे inequality and welfare measures माने equally पहुंची पारु नाही in the society. So development टा ठीक भाबरे समांतरल भाबरे society रे हेई पारु नाही. So to secure a holistic development, the constitution makers in India, they opted for the affirmative actions, made it obligatory on the state to devise effective strategies in this direction from time to time. That Indian constitution ଯେମିତି କି fundamental rights ଅଛି, directive principle of the state policy ଅଛି, ସେଥିରେ different of the measures ଗୁଡାକ ନିଆ ଯାଇଛି for the affirmative actions policies. That the Indian constitution has provisions for the affirmative actions to remove the social and the economic disparities. These provisions focus on the protection of the rights and the development of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes of the peoples and the backward caste, minorities and the backward regions of the people. That these provisions for the development of the marginalized communities can be broadly divided into 4 categories. Prathama rahela educational and the cultural safeguards. Article 46 of the directive principle of the state policy, here it makes it obligatory on the state to promote and take special care to the educational and the economic interest of the weaker section, particularly the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. Here that protects them from social injustice and all forms of the exploitation. Article 46 directive principle of the state policy. Then the schedule 5th and the 6th schedules of the constitution here provides protection of the rights cultures and the customs. And schedules fifth schedule is said about that the plant tribes and the hill tribes, and sixth schedule is for hilly tribes of the Meghalaya, Tripura, and some parts of the Assam. Some parts of the Assam. Then this is educational and the cultural safeguards. Then social safeguards. Social safeguards, Article 17, that is fundamental rights of the Constitution. Here there is abolition of the untouchability. It talk about the abolition of the untouchability and made it a punishable offense also. And here there is a protection to this end. Here there is the protection of the civil rights Act 1955 and the Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribe. Prevention of the Atrocities Act 1989 that was passed as a two measures legislative enactment. Then additionally Article 24 of the Fundamental Rights, it prohibits children below the age of the 14 years from working in the factories, mines or any hazardous employment. New legislative initiative and different of the measures has been taken to enact laws, and it provided further safeguards to move that for the most marginalized communities. So the most prominent among these are the prohibitions of the employment and the manual scavengers and their Rehabilitation Acts 2013. Here, these manual scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act it aims at identifying and eliminating the insanitary latrines, that is prohibiting employments of the manual scavengers and the hazardous manual cleaning of the sewers and the septic tanks, and identifying and the rehabilitating of the manual scavengers. Then hochi economic safeguard. Your economic safeguard asuchi, there are different type of the economic safeguards for the tribals in the schedule areas. So the governors of such areas, that is the governors of such areas, they have the schedule areas, they have special power. Schedule area jodi ochi governor koro se time re special powers tai sei area re. So these states have tribal advisory councils. This is a constitutional bodies with special authority related with the regulations of the land transfer and allotment in the tribal areas and regulations of their business. Then political safeguard. Political safeguard here the constitution provides different of the provisions for the political reservations in the political institution. According to the Article 330 of the Indian Constitution, it reserves seat for the SC/STs in the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha according to the Article 334. And according to the Article 81, the President of the India may appoint persons from the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. Only two, not more than two. Then reserved seats are also granted to the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes and the women's, that is one third in the panchayats and the Jilla Parishad, and according to the Article 243D. And this article was inserted in the Indian constitutions in 1992 by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment. Their reservation in the public employment and admission to the public educational institutions. Here, the Constitution allows reservations in the government jobs and admissions in the academic institutions to the persons belonging to the SC, STs, and OBC communities. Article 16 here provides that it deals for the equality of the opportunity in matters of the public employment. that includes special clauses for the reservation of the appointment and the post in the government services for the backward classes of the citizens जोटा कि आर्टिकल 16 रे क्लॉज 4 रे अछि आर्टिकल 16 रो क्लॉज 4 रो सब clause A of the same article says provides for the reservation in matters of the promotions within the government services for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. In central government institution also the percentage of the reservation of the SC and the ST is 22.5% and for the OBC it is 27.5%. Okay. So while that development through the welfare scheme different about the development through welfare scheme ame different the models ebe discuss kariba that is India's development model. Here this model envisages a development strategy by which the state and the private sector here would participate jointly ଯେମିତି କି state sector and private sectors jointly ସେମାନେ participate କରିବେ for the development for India's development that is known as Nehruvian models of the development. In this model the state or the government played leading role. The state as well as the state or the government they played important role here. So keeping in view the equality goals of our constitution from the time to time, the state government introduced several welfare policies to the targeted lower sections of the peoples, that is the poor section, SC, ST, OBC, etc. for their welfare. So the main purpose of such policies is that to empower and uplift the weaker sections of the people of the society. So such policies are here introduced both by the central and the state governments institution in order to establish a egalitarian society and remove the poverty, economic disparities and inequality from the societies. So this Nehruvian model of the development have certain limitations. The period of the operation of this Nehruvian period, Nehruvian model of the development that is from 1950s to 1980s, 1950s to 80s. That was known as the era of the license permit Raj. In this license permit Raj, the role of the state was generally been viewed through as regulatory. The state played a regulatory role here. The business firm was supposed to get license from the government agencies to run its business. Business firm government license darkar kale to run their business. And here this took lot of the time leading to delay in the starting business and was marked in the corruptions. They were marked in the corruption. So the central government led by VP P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1991 introduced reforms that is known as liberalizations from 1991 period that there is privatization that LPG liberalization privatization the globalization policy रे India's development model टा अनुप्राणित होइथिला. So indeed the central government and the state government introduced several welfare oriented policies even from the reform era. That is the India's Nehruvian model of the development, then development through welfare scheme. Many welfare policies have been introduced by the central and the state government in India since independence. That some of these have been exclusively introduced in the central government, and some by the state government, and some by jointly by the state government and the state government. So indeed that slogan was Garbi Hatao, that is remove poverty. That was in the 1971 Lok Sabha election, that is poverty become one of the central issue or the political and the policy agenda in India. So as a part of this affirmative action strategy, here, the policy includes several initiatives for the SC, ST children in the field of the secondary educations. So at that time, the most important was that about the poverty removal scheme, that is 20-point program introduced during the emergency era, that is employment generations scheme, food for work program and the financial initiative through Jan Dhan scheme. Ebe jo scheme guda ko chalchi, that is गोटे होची महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी एक्ट इन 2005 रे that is the world's largest anti-poverty alleviation program, and it makes the government responsible to provide up to 100 days of the wage labors on the government funded that in the public work for a local people person who applied for the work. So under work under this program is planned by the local community or the panchayat. The records of the money spent and the work completed under the program must be available publicly. Public mane pai parbe. The 100 days guarantee poverty alleviation program this is. So challenges to the development ପାଇଁ କଣ ସବୁ challenges ଅଛି, କଣ ସବୁ ବାଧା ଅଛି development ପାଇଁ. So the formulation and the implementation of the development agenda through affirmative actions faces several challenges in India. These include corruption and the lack of transparency, and corruption achi. Then there is lack of the transparency, and there is a declining role of the state during the reform period, and lack of awareness within a large sections of the poor people, and role of the trust or the ancient. Then in this era, there is main instrument in the hands of the people that there is the right to information. This right to information that it has not been useful in curbing corruptions in several things. Social scheme meant for the empowerment and the development of the marginalized communities often do not reach to them. Jete sabu social scheme achi for the development of the marginalized sections of the people, seta sei sections of the people manko pakhaku thik babare pahunchi paru nahi. Okay, so especially at the village levels, the problem gets compounded due to lack of the communications, increasing low role of the market, and there is ignorance also, and lack of the communications, and there is nexus between the corrupt bureaucrats and intermediaries. So all these are different challenges to development. That's all about the development. Any doubts, any queries about this unit? कार किसी डाउट्स अच्छी कि
मैम एजुकेशनल एंड कल्चरल सेफगार्ड स्टडी आउट है कौन पॉइंट
एजुकेशनल एंड कल्चरल सेफगार्ड्स
आइए
डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी पढ़ी छ बीपीएससी आगरो
आइए
से जगह रे आर्टिकल 46 कोन कहूची
6
आर्टिकल 46 कहूची हां आर्टिकल 46 कोन कहूची it is obligatory on the state to promote and take special care of the educational and the economic interest of the weaker section, particularly SC and the ST peoples, and it protects them from the social injustice and all forms of the exploitations. Socially and economically, educational क्षेत्र रे and economics development क्षेत्र रे scheduled caste and scheduled tribes रा people मान को social justice केमती करी दिया जीवो state ता ऊपर measures नेबो जेमती करी तमर SC ST मान को पाई educational क्षेत्र रिजर्वेशन अच्छी जॉब क्षेत्र रिजर्वेशन अच्छी कि नहीं अच्छी so apart from this तमर schedules अच्छी से schedules 5th and schedule 6th schedule 5th and 6th schedule 5th को plain tribes and the hilly tribes हम जो tribal area गुड़ा को अच्छी तार development पाई 5th को schedule is about the plain tribes and the hill tribes, and the schedule 6th VI 6th it is absolutely for the hilly tribes of the Meghalaya, Tripura and some parts of the Assam development by schedule 6 ta meant, but it is only meant for the hilly tribes of the Meghalaya, Tripura and some parts of the Assam. Even for development by state plans गुड़ा को different of the policy measures, different of the welfare measures गुड़ा को taken up करिबे. or any doubts?
मैम जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजन रे इकोनॉमिक सेफगार्ड टा केमिति
Constitutional economic safeguards.
आगे
Economic safeguard टा होची different type of the measures गुड़ाक दिया जाउची जेमति कि मनरेगा अछि ताटा तो मनरेगा जानलो ना महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी एक्ट 100 डे रो प्रोविजन्स अछि ताको काम दिया जिवो से माने काम करी करी ताको गारंटेड वर्क 100 दिन ताको काम प्रोवाइड करबो द गवर्नमेंट. So it panchayat unders re hochi. Apart from this, there are special economic safeguards for the peoples of the tribals and the scheduled areas. जो tribals and the scheduled areas टा अछि से एरिया टा जो गवर्नर पर अंडर रे थिबो बुझि पारलो हम ट्राइबल एरिया गुडा को अछि से तारा गुटे गवर्नर से स्टेट रो गवर्नर कर अंडर रे गोटे गवर्नर अंडर रे से एरिया टा आसुथिबा कि नहीं तो से माने से गवर्नर से जगार उन्नति करबा पाई फॉर द इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट करबा पाई गवर्नर किसी स्पेशल मेजर्स स्पेशल रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस बनै पारिबे. ओके एंड जेंति कि अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस देयर इज द ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल्स अछि. दिस इज ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज एंड इटा होची special authority related to the regulations of the land transfer and allotment in the tribal areas and regulation of the business therein. जेंति कि ट्राइबल पीपल मानकर लैंडेड रे बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम थाए को जगह रे से माने रही जाई थांती तो को जगह रु गवर्नमेंट केतले उच्छेद करबा पाई कोशिश करी थाए से जगह रे डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट रो जगह तो डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशन डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द एस्टैब्लिशमेंट करबा पाई उच्छेद करबा पाई भी आसी थाए डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ द टाइम रे डिफरेंट ऑफ द पॉलिसी गुडा को आसी थाए तो सेही सब ट्राइबल एडवाइजरी काउंसिल्स रा काम होउची कि से तार माने लैंड ट्रांसफर ऊपर कि अलॉटमेंट इन द ट्राइबल एरियाज एंड द रेगुलेशन ऑफ द बिजनेस माने तार स्पेशल पावर सेटा आसी थाए. ओके दिस इज ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज माने इटा खाली से ट्राइबल पीपल मानकर लैंड ऊपर सेटा डील करिवो ताऊ केते लैंड कोडा ट्रांसफर करा जिवो को बाजार रे अलॉटमेंट करा जिवो से इश्यू गुडा को से डील करि थाए. ऑल दिस आर अबाउट द इकोनॉमिक safeguard. Then apart from this tribal advisory councils it also makes laws on diverse subjects ଯେମିତି କି forest area ଅଛି public health sanitation that is inheritance of the property marriage social customs public health sanitations ए ऊपर भी से different type of the rules and the regulations बनै पारिबो and special grants are also provided to the development of this area that is our consolidated fund of the India अछि से जगह रु से पैसा टा जाई करी for the tribal people man development पाई used भी हे पारे. So this tribal areas generally मान कर poor infrastructure थाए जेंति कि roads and other amenities रे तांकर बहुत conditions टा बहुत कम थाए. That's why all as a tribal areas generally have poor infrastructures that is led by the road and other amenities. Special assistance programs गुड़ाक अच्छी that are constitutionally guaranteed to them. Article 339 it empowers the presidents to appoint a commissions to report on the admissions of the scheduled areas and the welfare of the tribal communities in respective states. Article 339 president को empower करूची it गुडे commissions appoint करिवो आ report देबो केमती करी तमर scheduled areas रो welfare and development हे पारिबो. Okay or any doubts?
No, ma'am.
तो आज तमर क्लास टा सरला
आगे मैम
एंड तमर पेपर भी सरला ए पेपर टा भी सरला हमें मु दुईटा पेपर तमर कंप्लीट करिछि. ओके दैट्स ऑल. थैंक यू
थैंक यू मैम.
Thank you, ma'am.
कौन है क्या